easier to just lie perfectly still and ignore the seasickness. You know, I kind of feel like I reached a level of zen in that moment because I didn't realize at all that we were about to be boarded by the military. I woke up, tried to work out what was happening, but everyone I spoke to was confused. I went to my laptop and realized that my very special strategy of uploading everything online was a complete failure. I had like half a terabyte of footage and literally none of it was uploaded. I should have guessed by the fact that it took about an hour to just like check the news every day. But yeah, my footage wasn't backed up anywhere.
I told you.
So
all right, we got our boy. I miss him. He also went to Cuba and he made this video and he's view-mogging me with his video.
I was sailing in the Caribbean recently and I noticed something really strange happening. You see, these fishing boats, they just keep exploding. Look, you can see it here. If you look at the footage from the cameras of America's MQ-9 Reaper drones, you can see it right there. It's really weird. Like 200 fishermen have just spontaneously combusted so far. And what's even weirder is that the US Navy is here too, and they've been intercepting ships in the Caribbean that are trying to bring supplies to Cuba. So obviously I was very confused. So I decided the best way to work out what was going on is to, you know, get on a fishing boat and try to bring 30 tons of humanitarian aid to Cuba.
Evacuate your engine room immediately. In one shot, blew up the engine room, the ship stopped. Very profitable business. Who would have thought we were doing that? We're like pirates. We're sort of like pirates.
So funny, man.
So you're probably thinking two things right now, right? Number one is that I'm obviously back at home, you know, filming the intro segment to this video, so I guess I didn't die or I didn't go to prison, but you actually have no idea where I'm filming this video from, do you? Like I could be doing it from a CIA black site, or maybe I'm filming it from hell, right? Maybe I'm dead, right? You actually have no idea what happens to me in this video. And the second thing you're thinking is, why does the US have a naval blockade of Cuba and why are they blowing up all these boats? Well, to find out, we need to know what's going on between the US and Cuba and how it all started. So for about 4,000 years, Cuba was home to 2 million people. Then the Europeans came in 1535 and through a very delicate balance of slavery and brand new cutting-edge diseases like smallpox, in just 30 years the indigenous populations were declared completely extinct. At that point, the Europeans had the same feeling that I had when I ate an entire jar of pickles at 2 a.m. and then didn't have the ingredients left for my sandwich the next day. Without the indigenous slaves, the Europeans would have to do all the work. And they didn't come all the way from Europe to just like pick sugarcane forever, so they imported a brand new kind of slave from a different continent to, you know, replace all the ones that they killed. And they actually kind of look like this, because they look quite different, these ones. Let's see. Asian, white, Asian. Yeah, so the new ones look like this, which is it's pretty good. Anyway, the Europeans fixed that extinction problem and the system worked pretty well for them for another 3.
Cuba's like demographic control is such an interesting story because they kept importing white people as well because they wanted to strike a delicate balance on the island to make sure that there weren't more black people than white people. But then the white people that they kept bringing to the island were woke. And the white people then, you know, built the underlying anarchist movement on the island as well. And therefore led to the Cuban Revolution. Like some of the whites that they imported to the island because they were really scared, like the white business owners were really scared that there would be, you know, not a 50-50 split. And some of the white people that came up to the island were like, yeah, we're anarchists actually, or we're fucking trade unionists. What the fuck is this shit? This sucks. Yeah, Spanish anarchists. And then those guys were like, yo, we should actually organize with these folk and, you know, not allow this current system to continue.
100 years, until the Cubans got sick of being slaves on plantations, and I guess the Spanish got bed sores or something from sleeping on piles of bones all day. So the US actually stepped in and helped kick out the Spanish. But the main thing the Cubans got out of it was replacing a handful of Spanish plantation owners with a handful of Cuban and American plantation owners, and all their profits went to US companies instead of the King of Spain. And this system continued for the next 60 years, right? The Cuban countryside was a giant US sugarcane plantation. American companies controlled about 70% of the land, and the remainder of it was owned by just the 0.5% of rich Cubans. Illiteracy and malnutrition was through the roof, but in the cities, they had so much disposable food that they started using their spare grapes and bananas to make hats. And you can see them here dancing with these stupid hats for a bunch of guys with equally stupid names like Lucky, the Bug, Joe Bananas, not to be confused with Joe Diamonds, Joe Batters, Joe Fish, and Fat Joe, who were also there, and along with a guy called the Little Man and another guy also called the Little Man. You see, Havana, the capital of Cuba, was known as the Las Vegas of Latin America. And not just because it was the mecca for gambling and prostitution, but because it was run entirely by the US Mafia. Here's mob kingpin Maya Little Man Lansky hanging out in Havana with the US-backed Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista. They're getting along really well because Batista let the mob buy up every hotel and casino in the city and passed laws that facilitated their money laundering and their narcotics and human trafficking. And, the mob loved him. I mean,
Meyer Lansky, OG Jewish Mafia, like, he is one of the pivotal figures that backed the Batista regime, was the connective tissue between America and Batista. A lot of Italians as well.
Not enough to give him a stupid nickname like Bobby Gabagool, but still, they made a crazy amount of money together. And any Cuban who got in the way of this racket was executed by the dictator's secret police. Or, if you're lucky, like Fidel Castro over here, they'll just torture you and then exile you to Mexico. Now, at the time, Batista didn't realize that this was the biggest fumble in history because Castro was about to grow a beard. And with a group of 82 other bearded Cubans and a bunch of guns, he decided to sail back to Cuba from Mexico in a tiny 12-person boat that was called...
Very anti-Semitic to say there's a Jewish mafia. No, like back then there literally was. What do you mean? Remember, this is a time period where Jews were also outcast from regular society, which is kind of what you do when you're not allowed to participate in normal societal functions. Irish mafia, Italian mafia, the Jewish mafia at the time.
Grandma, which, I mean, look, I don't get it either, but they wanted to liberate Cuba from this corrupt dictatorship. Unfortunately, they were immediately ambushed by Batista's army and only 12 of them survived the landing and they fled to the mountains. Now, in any normal situation, this would be the end of the revolution, but the interesting thing about Batista is that literally every single person hated him. So for the next 3 years, these 12 bearded men became thousands of bearded men, and women too. And by 1959, they had defeated Batista, who, fled the country with 424 million.
Yes, Castro's boat has the same name as Dragon's ship from One Piece. Remember, Oda knows. Grandma, same name for Dragon's ship. The revolutionaries in One Piece.
Dollars he embezzled from his corrupt dictatorship. Fidel Castro became the leader of this new Cuban government, and let me tell you, he got to work immediately.
Dude, I saw some photos that I hadn't seen from the initial landing with the beardos when they first came in with Grandma, and someone was saying that the Cuban Revolution would have taken days if not for the fact that they had to stop and take some of the greatest aura photos of all time, the aura farming photos, and they literally are insane. I've never seen a group of dudes that just have such unbelievable aura. They weren't trying. Like, they were not actively trying to farm aura. They just had it. This is it. Oh my fucking God, dude. Ripping bogues in the fucking swampland. Literally, like 70 of your homies perished in the process, and you're just ripping fat fucking lung darts. Look at the aura. Are you kidding me? Comrade. Nah, wait, you look tough. I'm taking a photo. Come on, bro. This shit looks like Red Dead. This shit looks like a snapshot from Red Dead. It's real life. The fuck? Was Kurosawa with them or something? I can see why you modeled your entire life image after this man. That's crazy to say. I cannot hold... I do not have the aura in my entire body that Fidel or Che holds in their fucking pinky. That's crazy. You're an insane person for saying that. Yeah, I am unfit to shine their boots, as Hideo Kojima once famously said, or made Solid Snake say. Anyway.
They skyrocketed to 7th in the world in literacy rates, eliminated poverty, brought electricity.
What are your thoughts on Che, one of the greatest revolutionaries of all time, bar none? Literally fucking a lion of a man, straight up. There are very few people that have existed on this planet as incredible as Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. Very few people, straight up. Like, as close to perfect as you can be in every way, shape, and form. Obviously, no one is perfect, and there were plenty of imperfections, but what matters is recognizing and offering restitution for those wrongs and righting those wrongs. Literally, not even close. There's a reason, guys. A lot of people nowadays will say, "Oh, it's because he was hot that he was on every t-shirt." Like, I'm not kidding when I say this. No, that's not the reason. The reason, I mean, that's part of the reason, but the real reason why people all around the world fell in love with these people and found them to be iconic was because they were fucking incredible. They were incredible.
The entire countryside and established a system of free, universal healthcare, achieving lower infant mortality than the US and more doctors per capita than any country in the world. It's crazy.
Like some aspects of the revolution that like people will point to, like Fidel Castro's parents were wealthy, right? They owned farmland. They owned more farmland than the government allowed people to have as individuals. So Fidel made his parents also participate in the expropriation of farmland. Like, that's the type of shit that they were doing. Che Guevara would spend every fucking free moment that he had going and toiling the fucking fields, carrying bags of cement during the Reconstruction. Like, these guys lived for it every waking moment. I mean, Che Guevara spent the latter half of his life straight up liberating Africa. So, I mean, there's nothing. What more can you do?
What they did. I mean, you have 9/11 first responders traveling to Cuba so they can get treatments they can't access in the US.
This one test that they recommended I take is about $5,000 to $7,000. I have no medical coverage, so I can't go for the last part of the test.
No se preocupe que todo eso va a ser estudiado.
But that's actually someone else's documentary, and you're watching my one right now, so just don't worry about that video. Now, in order to do all this cool stuff, the new Cuban government had to make a lot of enemies, right? So a big part of eliminating poverty is getting rid of Cuba's colonial plantation system, which means...
I would go so far as say Cuba and the Cuban Revolution in general was not only so beautiful and so perfect that like the revolutionary spirit is still carried by especially a lot of the older Cubans, at least from my experience. But like they have nothing. Like, they've been forced into abject poverty, and yet they still try to help other people out to the best of their abilities. One of the greatest examples of how much American propaganda can unironically warp the brains of an entire generation, because like, can't wait to see this clipped on Fox News later. I mean, I don't care. You know my position on this stuff.
Taking the land back from the 0.5% of the population that owned it and distributing it to the farmers who actually worked and lived on the land. Now, the Cuban government actually wanted to do it all by the book. You know, they didn't just take the land, they offered to buy the land off the, handful of plantation owners. But like every multinational business from Apple to Amazon to Google, they paid zero tax by cooking the books. They shift their profits around so they could claim they were running at a loss. And because the new government was doing it by the book, which was cooked, they offered these businesses the amount of money that the businesses themselves had reported for the past decade. Now, every country that owned Cuban businesses, from England to Spain to Switzerland, they accepted that they had a good run doing slave labor and lying about their profits, and the jig was up, and they took the money that was offered and signed the companies over to the new Cuban government. Well, no, every single country except for the US did that. So all these Cuban plantation owners and oligarchs moved to the US, expecting that Uncle Sam would quickly...
Even in Iran, people don't understand the Cuban Revolution and curse Castro. What the fuck? That's crazy. They literally designed a COVID vaccine together. American propaganda is so unbelievably powerful. At the Pasteur Institute in Iran, they straight up designed the COVID vaccine. Cuba and Iran designed the COVID vaccine together because they were obviously kept out of the international, kept out of the getting the fucking vaccines from, Western countries. We bombed that. We bombed that research institute, by the way, in the Operation Epstein Fury. And also, I don't think people in Iran curse Castro that much because they were pro-Iranian revolution as well.
They invade and topple the Cuban government, and they'd get their slaves back. So the CIA, the mafia, and Cuban exiles really gave it a good crack. They invaded Cuba 2 years later and lost, and then they did chemical warfare. Then they tried 573 different Looney Tunes style assassination attempts on Castro. They literally tried to make him smoke an exploding cigar at one point, but they never managed to kill the Cuban president. But look, I'm not saying that the dream team of Miami Cubans, the mafia and the CIA are a group of bumbling idiots who can't get anything done, right? They did manage to kill the American president on their first try, which is very impressive, right? But that's a whole other story. The point is, the Cuban plantation owners never gave up. They just kept going. They did heaps of cool action movie style terrorist attacks against Cuba over the decades. You know, they'd bomb passenger planes, they'd shoot bazookas at public theaters. Like, they killed a bunch of people, you know, they were busy guys. But unfortunately, after 70 years of living in Miami, like anyone who lives there, their brains had completely melted and they just don't have the same mojo anymore. Like, all they can do these days is, you know, get on their knees and beg Trump to bomb them next after he's done with Iran. And when they're not doing that, they make the worst AI-generated reggaeton videos in the world. Hallucinating about a utopian US-controlled Cuba where they finally get their slaves back and, you know, Havana has a McDonald's and a Walmart and a CBS, but somehow in their vision, the CBS isn't surrounded by fentanyl addicts like you usually get at a CBS in the USA. But whatever, you know, it's really inspiring stuff, but unfortunately, as good as their AI videos are, the Cuban government is still in charge. But there is one thing that the US did that has drastically affected Cuba, right? And it's spelled out in this declassified government memorandum from 1960, which was only a few months after the Cuban Revolution. You see, the US knew that Castro was incredibly popular, so the only way they could actually get rid of him is to completely block the country off from the outside world, bringing about hunger, desperation, and eventually the overthrow of the government. So they introduced an embargo, which the US government called the most comprehensive set of economic sanctions that any country has ever had.
And remember, the design of this embargo is supposed to be invisible. Donald Trump obviously gave the game away. Not that people give a shit anymore, but at the time, they wanted to have plausible deniability. Oh, it's communism's fault. It's communism that's keeping this island poor. And of course, they failed to do so for the longest time because the USSR was like, we got you. That's why, regardless of my criticisms of Khrushchev, I feel as though the period of de-Stalinization might have actually unironically set the stage for the dissolution of the USSR. I will say Khrushchev was a bit of a lion for giving Cuba USSR nukes.
Now, up until this point, the US controlled Cuba for 50 years, so they were obviously Cuba's biggest trading partner. But the issue isn't that suddenly US companies were banned from trading with Cuba. It's actually much, much bigger than that. See, any country or company anywhere in the world that does business with Cuba will also be sanctioned and blacklisted by the US. So let's say the CEO of a foreign company is completely insane and says, like, fuck it. Like, I really don't mind getting blacklisted and locked out of the global market. I just really, really want to sell this cancer medicine to Cuba for some reason. And even in that like super rare scenario, the US can still stop them. Since the US essentially runs the, you know, global financial system and owns the global reserve currency, the bank that facilitates this transaction will be fined $619 million for doing it, which happened to ING in 2012. And if you can't tell by all the spelling mistakes in the company's name, it's a Dutch bank. It's got nothing to do with the US, but they can still somehow be fined for dealing with Cuba. It's actually insane, right? They've made it nearly impossible for any country to buy or sell anything to Cuba, and nothing's off limits, right? Like in 2016, when the UN set up an international children's painting competition, and a 13-year-old Cuban boy with haemophilia won. And they had the award ceremony in Algiers, as you do, and the kid was meant to receive a Nikon camera as the grand prize. But after pressure from the US, Nikon, a Japanese company, refused to hand over the digital camera, all because the kid who won was Cuban, and they didn't want to compromise their business with the US. It's actually nuts.
This is part of the reason why I say, like, we are the prototype for Israel. Because that's like Israel behavior, right? Many of you have grown up to learn that this kind of comical evil behavior is one that only Israel does. No, we've been doing it too. And in many respects, we've been allowing Israel to do this kind of shit to other countries. Obviously, he's using like an edge case that's like, you know, kind of funny and devastating, dark, but funny to really show you the lengths that America went to and still goes to make sure that Cubans suffer all the fucking time. But, you know, as I've also described in great detail with the interviews that I conducted with doctors and nurses and regular Cuban citizens, like, this extends to every aspect of Cuban existence.
Country in the world would have an immediate humanitarian crisis if it was locked out of all international trade like Cuba was. But in the words of former US President Jimmy Carter himself, the only reason the sanctions haven't created a humanitarian catastrophe in Cuba is because the Cuban government has somehow maintained one of the best healthcare systems in the world. Without being able to trade with anyone, the Cubans have managed to use the very little resources that they have and make it go a really, really long way. The healthcare system isn't just surviving under 70 years of the biggest economic blockade on earth, but they're still doing international aid. Like a tiny country that can't trade with anyone sends more doctors to the third world than the world's 8 richest countries combined. They cured blindness for 4 million people around the world for free, and even in the more extreme cases like Haiti, Cuban doctors make up 75% of all healthcare in the country. I mean, without Cuban doctors...
In Jamaica, Cuban doctors make up 70% of all of the rural healthcare, which now get zero healthcare because Marco Rubio forced the Jamaican country to purge the Cuban doctors.
There would basically be no doctors left in Haiti. It's crazy. Somehow the Cubans managed to do all this impossible stuff for almost 70 years, but that brings us to the year of the fire horse, 2026. Now, one of the only countries that's ever been brave enough to, sell oil to Cuba has been Venezuela, because, they're already sanctioned to shit, so, what more could the US government do, right? Well, it turns out the US government can actually do a lot more, right? Especially now that the government's been, supercharged with the insatiable aura of the pedophile. In January, in the middle of the night, the US military flew in, bombed the country, killed a bunch of people, and
there are a shit ton of Cuban doctors in Italy. Yeah, Italy was one of the countries that told America to fuck off. Run by a fascist, by the way. Even Maloney was like, suck my dick. When Marco Rubio was like, you have to pull the Cuban doctors, no more Cuban healthcare. And Italy was like, no. Of course, they still got away with it in places like Jamaica that America obviously can dominate with ease.
Kidnapped the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. And they've been holding him in US prison for the past 6 months, claiming he's a drug trafficker, which is weird because, the brother of the US Secretary of State is an actual drug trafficker. And just a month before that, Trump pardoned the president of Honduras, who actually trafficked hundreds of tons of cocaine into the United States. But whatever. Look, what I'm trying to say is that they're full of shit. Apart from the fact that Maduro somehow dresses exactly like my local drug dealer, there's actually zero evidence that he's involved in drug trafficking. But at the end of the day, none of that really matters, right? Venezuela got the message loud and clear and they stopped selling oil to Cuba. And just to make sure nothing else slips through, the US has sent its military out to intercept any other country that dares sell oil to Cuba. Even civilian boats are getting intercepted. I mean, look, the New York Times actually made a cute little animation of a civilian ship trying to buy and sell oil, getting ping-ponged by a wall of US ships intercepting it in the Caribbean. But this guy's one of the lucky boats. I mean, since December, the US has killed over 200 people by drone striking random ships in the Caribbean, turning the sea into a no-go zone for pretty much anyone. Now, the US claims they're killing drug traffickers, which is kind of funny because in the United States, the punishment for dealing drugs is not execution. And so it's illegal anyway, but it's also super convenient because they've simultaneously blown up all the evidence of the supposed drug trafficking. And it's extra weird considering that the families of the victims are suing the US, showing that their dead husbands, brothers, and sons are just fishermen. And look, I don't know who to believe, right? Obviously, both these claims are equally credible, but that's beside the point, right? What I'm trying to say is the Caribbean Sea is now a no man's land, right? And Cuba hasn't had any fuel for 8 months. They're going through constant blackouts, the garbage trucks, the hospitals, everything's down. It's absolutely horrifying. So as a YouTuber who cares about this stuff, my first thought was, how can I make this about me? So I teamed up with Progressive International, and together we're going to get some boats and fill them with food and medicine and see if we can get through this military blockade. Alex and I have done so much dangerous stuff in the past, and I was so excited for the next adventure, but Alex was actually too scared to do this one, right? Which, I don't really care, right? My best friend doesn't want to hang out with me. It's not like a big deal. I got heaps of other friends, actually. I got one other friend, Dan. Let me tell you, me and Dan, we go way back. We're talk about friends. He's probably my best friend ever, actually, now that I think about it. It's always just been just me and Dan against the world, and no one else matters as far as I'm concerned. We go way back. You know those guys that go to South America? You know the guys I'm talking about? They got disgusting hair, 100 armbands. They can't stop telling you about how their ayahuasca trip freed them from all their worldly vices, but they're also inexplicably addicted to Cuban cigars now.
It's true, though. He did... That's true. Alex did actually. By the way, on the boat with Alexa, there's an Italian union guy. Nice. Yeah, he was a little too worried. How is this guy more badass than you? No Hasan mention. Well, considering that okay, to be fair, I facilitated, but also we didn't even get to see one another because I flew out before he could get to Cuba because their travel got pushed back a little bit. I was actually very excited to see him in Cuba, but then unfortunately their travel got pushed back.
Well, that was me and Dan 14 years ago. we went to Cuba together back then and did everything you'd expect us to do. And look, obviously that was a long time ago and we've both changed a lot since then, right? We both got haircuts. So Dan and I were all packed and ready to fly to Mexico and to try and sail this boat through the US blockade.
Oh, also the other reason why they couldn't come on with us was because they couldn't come to America. Yeah. Obviously they were, yeah. Thank you, Donald Trump.
What we didn't realize is that since we decided to go the dangerous route by boat instead of, flying all our aid in like everybody else, this trip would essentially be a never-ending cascade of bad news. And we received our first dose of it as soon as we arrived at the airport. We got a message from the organizers. Apparently there's some fucking, cyclone. Yeah, so essentially, we're going to be delayed by 3-4 days, and we don't even know. I'm scared of the US invading Cuba.
Yeah.
The longer we wait, the more likely we're going to be there for when that happens.
Everyone else just flying in, hey?
Yeah. Every smart person. Yeah. Every important person. Also, I'm scared of getting bombed by the US.
Son of a bitch. He was supposed to fly too. It's not my fault that the American government would not issue a visa. Is BoyBoy and I Did a Thing banned? No, they're not. They just did not think that they would be able to secure a visa in time.
And it's just now we're taking the slowest boat possible. We're going to spend a month in that little channel just begging them to intervene. If we were fast enough, it's we've got a day. We've got a day in which it can happen. That's it's not a lot of time for the Navy to make decisions, But now they're going to be oh, do you want to do it today? They say nah. And then 3 days later they check in, they're they might change their mind.
Who's our captain anyway?
I don't know.
You have no idea.
He could be a fucking psycho. He could be,
it probably is.
He could be Lieutenant Dan.
But who is this guy who's just...
He's I'd love to sail.
I'd love to go get bombed,
I'd love to take YouTubers on a dangerous trip to here.
No
what
migrants.
The fuck is that?
Yeah, that's that's weather. Trust him as my captain.
The stupid windy piece of shit. I was really scared of the cyclone and the delays, but there was another coincidental issue that made me really scared of being in Cancun specifically and waiting for the weather to clear up.
Look, we actually timed it perfectly for the peak of spring break.
Oh, dude, I got hit with this too. Oh, I got hit with this bullshit too on the way back. From Cuba, I didn't want to enter the country through Miami because, Customs and Border Control Miami. I'm not trying to do that. So I flew to Mexico, got intercepted by Mossad agent Nas Daily at the Havana airport. That was a crazy story. And then I flew to Mexico and I flew from Mexico to Los Angeles. And that was a fucking nightmare because the Mexican airport in Cancun was filled to the motherfucking brims with spring breakers.
So stupid.
Yeah.
We're going to be the most disgusting men in the world.
Intercepted by Mossad, what? Yes. You guys forgot about this? I told you this story already. I'm at the Havana airport and it's not exactly I had a long ass story about the Havana airport, but whatever. I'm at the Havana airport. I'm at the fucking cafe and someone starts yelling at me from afar with a phone in his hands filming. They're like, this guy's a terrorist. This guy's a terrorist. This guy's a terrorist. All this shit. Yeah. Lo and behold, it was that fucking weirdo, the agent of Israel, Nas Daily. Did the Spring Breakers recognize you in Cancun? Yes, of course they recognized me in Cancun.
Yeah, man, just a couple of 30-year-olds with 1,000 cameras. I feel like a married man who's concocted the most transparent lie I could think of. Sorry, babe, I gotta go do aid work. The children need me, man. Oh, what? Spring break for a week? Popular with 18 to 25-year-olds, it's us.
We're gonna get arrested, and it's not our fault.
I was trying to do aid. Well, we're on the plane now, so there's no turning back from our destiny of, being creeps in their mid-30s going to spring break. But whatever, that's a minor annoyance. We also had to fly a really stupid way to get there. Since the US has this tendency of, arresting and deporting people who they don't like, even if they're just doing a layover and, not actually entering the US, we had to fly all the way up to Canada and then fly back down to Mexico. How are the
That's
thumbs
crazy.
going,
I didn't
man?
even think about that. I thought there was a direct flight to Mexico. I didn't even realize they had to go to Canada first.
Not think about this. I was just like, it's only 5 hours from Cancun.
Oh, spring break.
So we just sat in the warmest diner we could find near the airport for like 13 hours. And then it was time to fly over to the climate that we actually packed clothes for. Tenemos que practicar español. Tengo una idea. Todo el vuelto. El vuelo. Solo hablamos en español.
Bueno.
Para practicar. Sí.
Claro.
Si no sabemos cómo se dice algo, tenemos que decirlo en inglés con un acento de español. Yo tengo miedo de las bombas americanas. Necesito hacer caca en mis pantalones. Sí, es como se dice. Se dice así. We finally touched down in Mexico and we had to make our way to this little island where our boats were leaving from. So far, Mexico's the best country I've ever seen. Live music on the ferry ride, it was bloody great. This is the kind of thing that happens.
Also, think about it this way. Like, could you imagine me having to do this? This would be fucking ridiculous. Okay. So shout out to Progressive International for actually, because I was initially, this was the plan. We were all going to fly down to Mexico and we were all going to take boats to Cuba. That would have been insane. It would have been impossible. No shot you will have internet. No, that wasn't a problem. We had already figured that shit out, but it's not, I mean, it was, you don't even want to go on a luxury cruise ship? No, it's not because I'm afraid of the water. I don't give a shit about that.
It's like the Lord of the Rings, the final scene when they go to the Elvish heaven.
Hearing this song when we get double tapped. I've never seen my own dad so clearly.
This is what it's gonna be like.
Floating up that way.
You ascend into the heavens.
So there we were. We're on the island and it was time to see the boats and meet our fellow sailors. We haven't slept in like 2 days. And there's something about being so severely jet lagged that like it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
You know, and even if we're doing something normal, it would feel surreal. We're also doing something insane. So we found the place and it turns out our boats were just on the other side of this mangrove. Now I went in there without filming because, you know, I didn't want to ruin my first impression by being, you know, an annoying YouTuber and sticking a camera in people's faces. But it turns out their first impression of me was actually much, much worse than any of that, right? Like what happened next is probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever put on the internet. And in my defense, I was very sleep deprived, like super sleep deprived, but I don't even know why I'm making excuses, right? You're going to see it anyway. But I essentially ran away from them, right? I shat my pants and I just ran away. Like I was only there for like 2 minutes and I met them and I said, hi, my name is Alexa. And these are like serious activists that were on the previous flotilla to Gaza. And they started telling me all this scary stuff, like about the likelihood of us getting bombed and how dangerous the conditions are in the sea right now. And I suddenly felt like this burning sensation in my stomach and I said I need to go poo, but then I disappeared for like 24 hours. And to be fair, I was actually pooing for a while. Like it was one of those like serious like shirt off poos, but that only accounted for like 15 minutes of my disappearance. The next 24 hours were mainly just me panicking and planning to go home.
You okay?
My stomach's fucked. It's so fucking bad.
Whoa, what's going on there?
I feel like an idiot. Did I come all this way, like secretly knowing that I didn't want to do this thing? I feel like the dumbest guy in the world. Like, what did I think it was going to look like? What could it possibly have looked like that wasn't this confronting? And now I'm fucking embarrassed because, like, why did I disappear? Why was I there for 2 seconds?
Like, what are your options? I mean, I don't think you can really go home.
One of my favorite times with the streamers when they live with you, please have them back. Dude, I can't. I talked about this yesterday. Usually on the 4th of July, before Trump, okay, they would come over and stay with me for like 2 months. It was the best. It was the best time, dude. It's the fucking best. I miss them so much. I'm going to go to Australia. I'm going to go in and see them.
That's the thing. I can go home and just, like, learn that I'm not that guy. Like,
No, I don't think you're going to feel good doing that.
I feel bad, but it's like, I could have died. But anything's better than that.
Yeah, you really feel...
Yeah, I'm like really scared.
Yeah.
Hours passed during this freak out. The organisers didn't know where I'd gone. Like, little did they know that I was just a kilometer away and it was just me staring into the void and apparently stimming, which is a brand new feature I didn't realize I had for the past 30 years. But this one I worked out what the problem was. Like, it's not the fact that I'm like a pampered YouTuber who pretends he cares about the world, but can't handle any risk to his comfortable middle-class life. You see, the problem was Dan. See, Dan is one of those very kind people, right? Like a really good friend that's gonna when they see their friend panicking, they try to comfort them, right? Like hear them out and give them space. But that's when I realized what I actually needed was like an asshole like Alex, right? Whenever I freak out while we're sneaking into a CIA base or laundering money, he's always been there to concoct the most sociopathically efficient way to bully me into doing something I'm terrified of.
Hey, Alec.
Hey, Ben.
I am fucking shitting myself. I'm so scared.
We went to go meet everybody, Alex, and Alexa just decided he needed to take a crap and ran off after.
I literally ran away.
No, I don't really want to do this anymore, guys. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I just remembered I need to poo, and then they never see me again.
It's exactly what you asked.
No, it is exactly what I asked for, and now I'm thinking like, did I just secretly know the entire time that I didn't want to do this?
Well, I was surprised. Like, why am I freaking out more than Alexa is? I was like, is this man fucking suddenly love the open ocean?
Why am I so fucking stupid?
Well, Alexa, I think you know nothing about sailing, so don't try to understand it. Right?
Yeah.
Just let them. You're not going to magically solve all their sailing problems in like 5 minutes. They're like, wait, what if we tried this? It's just going to confuse you, and you feel worse about it.
Well, I feel really bad now, so I think that's what's happened. The woman who's like one of the organizers did the Gaza flotilla, and she's like, yeah, when we did that, it was like a 70% chance that we would die, and we all knew that. And this one, is more chill, and I'm just like, I don't know, what do you... Like, how much more chill? I'm like with people who seem like their risk tolerance is so high.
It's true.
Like Dan.
Well, Dan's like, yeah, they seem really nice and cool.
Well, I think you need to remember, Alexa, that you are a YouTube content creator.
Yeah.
What would Mr. Beast do?
Pay someone else to do it. Pay someone $1 million to do it with their hands tied behind their back.
Yeah, fuck, I forgot. I said that was meant to be helpful. I forgot he would do that. He ain't doing it. So, Alexa, I really gotta poo as well.
But that was my problem.
I know, but that's what I gotta do now as well.
Okay.
Alright, well, good luck. Let me know what you decide to do.
Okay, bye-bye. So the call obviously didn't help, and I immediately went back to being a fidgety little coward. I spent 2 minutes around legitimately selfless people who understand that their lives aren't more important than the lives of Palestinians and Cubans.
Someone fill me in on why they can't come here, because they're fucking Aussie radicals, dude. They've literally gone into a CIA base in Australia. Their point of contact in America is me. Like in the past, when they were getting visas, they would just bring my name up and say that they were going to stay at my house, which in the past would not be that big of a problem. At least at this point, like the North Korea stuff is one thing. The American government doesn't know about the North Korea stuff, even though they literally did go, but it's not on their passport. But so that's probably not going to get dinged when they're, getting looked at, especially because they wouldn't have been able to get visas in the past. But yeah, imagine being like, yeah, we are Australian commies who are going to come and stay at Hasan Piker's house. That would be really funny. The visa guy would be like, okay, you should come to America just so we can put you in prison.
And, they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. And I was slowly realizing that I'm a bit of a phony and I'm terrified. Like, before I made any drastic decisions, I did decide to sleep on it, right? And honestly, a decent part of my panic could be attributed to the fact that I hadn't slept 50 hours, because the next day was absolutely beautiful. I mean, look, the boats weren't in the best condition. The wood was rotten, the metal beams were snapped. We were essentially stranded, waiting for the weather to get better. And the third boat that we were meant to be on hadn't even arrived in the port yet. I mean, we weren't even sure if it existed, but everyone was just trying their best to deal with all these problems. And I discovered that it's surprisingly easy to distract yourself from your imminent death when you're busy trying to fix up a boat. For the next few days, we'd spend the daytime fixing up the boats and spend the nights having, little hoedowns. I honestly felt like I was living through the kind of thing that a middle-aged woman would fantasize about when
Maybe you can meet them in the UK. That's really funny, chatter. That's really funny. Oh, haha. Israel banned you from going to another country. Haha.
You know, her husband forgets her anniversary. You know, just a ship full of sexy young adventurers in South America, just surrounded by like, you know, socially conscious, ripped guys who they stare deep into your eyes and promise to take you far away to feed starving people and make love.
Oh, I saw Francesca Hong.
But still, for those few days, I was actually having a great time, right? Apart from when we sang all those sea shanties that, for some reason, they traditionally always focus on sailors dying horrible deaths on the ocean. But I did learn a lot about like boat maintenance, and I met a lot of cool people, which reminds me, I promised Jorge I'd plug his homemade chairs in this video, so if you're ever in Isla Mujeres and you need a really good chair, go find Jorge, he's got you covered. Anyway, as each day went past, I was getting a lot more comfortable, but more importantly, since a lot of these people had been on the previous flotilla to Gaza, like this guy playing the fiddle called Adnan, he let me know in detail what we were in for, and I was surprised. You know, I spent the lead up to this trip freaking out about getting bombed by the US, but it turns out it's also pretty fucked if they don't kill you, right? Even just getting intercepted by the military is still a horrifying experience.
Normally they intercept the boats with like their elite marine units, but there were so many boats, they didn't have enough of those elite forces, so they just called up like reservists, and you could see that they were like totally, like they didn't know how to drive the boat, like they couldn't figure out, like they were throwing up, they were seasick, like I mean, it's, you know, once you first see that green laser dot on your chest and you know that it's an 18-year-old who's been raised from birth to think that you're some kind of threat and subhuman, honestly, there's a pretty decent chance they'll pull the trigger.
Now, the interesting thing about Adnan is that, unlike everyone else who was sailing into the arms of the IDF, Adnan was simultaneously on a family vacation because he was on the boat with his younger brother as well.
They demanded the passport when they intercepted him, and he said, I want to speak to a lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
And they punched him in the face. And when they loaded him on the prison bus, like there's cells on the bus, so like you're already locked up. And the four of the guys just jumped on him and just started hammering him.
Holy shit.
And they beat him until he fell to his knees and curled up in a fetal position, and they were kicking him. And I was there watching my brother get beat, and I couldn't do
what can you do?
It was tough, man. You know, finally, I think we got into our cell. It was like a relief to be in the cell. You're like, okay, we're gonna be left alone at least for a little while now, you know.
But the relief didn't last long. Now, this is where the psychological warfare started.
We were like totally disoriented. I mean, we hadn't slept for 24 hours, so we were just exhausted. Of course, I don't know what time it was in the morning. They undo the padlock. It's a big crossbar that they take off the door, so you hear the clunk, you know, of the metal. We were made to kneel down, put our hands on our heads, and we didn't understand what was going on at all. So they've got dogs as well that they come in and they're like ready to release on you. They've got their green sniper dots on your chest. Yeah, sometimes they would just come in and count you. Yeah. And it's like, you think somebody slipped away?
Yeah, you guys ate each other, like I don't know.
No, I wanted to move to the next cell. I just tunneled through the wall, you know, I don't know what the hell.
So they do this weird intimidation routine multiple times a night. Like you never know when it's coming, right? And it always ends with them counting you.
But one time, he forgot that how many people were in the cell afterwards. So they came in like all like shock and awe. Lights on, guns out, dogs in, everything, count us, blah, blah, blah. And then he forgot, so after we were all like getting back in bed, he came back and like meekly poked his head like through the bars of the cage, and it's like,
that's ridiculous.
And it was so funny to me, like why don't you just do that in the first place? Yeah. Obviously. It's because you want to terrorize.
Intimidation, yeah. I mean, look, it's a horrifying experience, but these activists are just constantly willing to put their lives on the line, like again and again for a good cause. And it makes sense why they do it, right? When you're fighting against the most powerful countries in the world and you're just a regular civilian, the flotillas are actually a really clever tactic. Like Cuba and Gaza, right? A group of people are being starved by a military blockade, but the countries that are doing it are put in an impossible position when the flotilla arrives, right? So either you let them through and you look weak and it inspires more people to try and break your blockade, or you kill them or imprison them, in which case you look like a monster because now you're harming civilians from other countries, not just, the brown people that you've so far been able to justify killing. For that reason, the authorities try to stop the flotilla at every step of the way before you set sail. which is actually quite easy to do in the case of Cuba because the country's already sanctioned to shit, right? So if we want to get a boat for the flotilla, the company that rents or sells it to us and the insurance company that's covering the transaction and the voyage, they're immediately locked out of the international banking system because they're now doing business related to Cuba, right? And I don't know, no business is going to take that risk. So that's why our boats kind of suck, right? Like we either had to salvage like an old shit boat or pay a business an exorbitant amount of money to, make up for the fact that, their company will practically cease to exist after they do business with us. And we got a taste of that bureaucratic issue while we were fixing up these ships and the ship that...
The freest of markets. Yeah. Classic free market. The freer the markets, the freer the people.
we were meant to be on never arrived. Right? It turns out all this pressure from the US and their sanctions meant that our boat was being held up all the way over here in Progreso, 300 kilometers in the wrong direction. So Dan and I had to get a last-minute bus across Yucatan and gear up for a much longer sea voyage, if we were actually going to be allowed to set sail at all. Which is a pretty annoying situation to be in, but it was only exacerbated by the fact that the Mexican bus company chose the worst possible movies to play. There are so many movies in the world. Why did the Mexican bus have to play the one of everyone dying at sea? What the fuck is this? I hate this. Also, these boats are so much better than ours. And if that wasn't spooky enough, we got another call from Alex to scare us even more.
Trump's comments this morning where Trump was just saying, yeah, I can take it.
I do believe I'll be having the honor of making Cuba. I think I can do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth. They're a very weakened nation.
Oh, I fucking hate it. It actually changes the way I look at Twitter now because everything I read scares the crap out of me. Like, hearing just like everyone's opinions on this thing is so upsetting. I'm just like, just shut up. Just don't talk about it. Just leave me alone. But we finally arrived to Progreso Harbour and it was time to see our boat. I have not seen our boat. I've heard some horrible things about it, but I haven't seen it.
What's the best case scenario?
I don't know. Well, that's the thing. I don't even know what a good boat looks like.
What are you looking for here?
I want to see a local walk past and go, good boat. But we finally arrived to Progreso Harbour and it was time to see our boat. The only problem is no one from the flotilla was here yet, so we're just a couple of gringos in a fishing town trying to work out which boat is ours. I'm really hoping it's that luxury yacht with the American flag on it.
Look at that thing, hey?
All I could really tell was that these were definitely 100% fishing boats. Oh yeah, you smell that.
Yeah, that's pretty potent. I guess we're on...
They said blue and white, which is...
That could be one of them.
Oh fuck, is that one wooden?
Yeah.
We got the one wooden one. After a little while, the other activists showed up and we were about to get our first glimpse of the boat. But they told me it was the biggest one. And you can see it there, just sticking out of the top. Big is good, I think. Bigger the boat,
yeah,
better
right.
the boat.
Right.
Think about it, Titanic, big.
How are you going to get to it? We got to sail over to our boat.
Oh, can we go? Yeah, boat to the boat.
I think it's had a fresh coat of paint too.
You can smell the fresh
Don't
paint.
be the person that's like everyone has to take care of.
Don't worry, that'll be me.
I didn't know he traveled without Alex. Yeah, Alex got cold feet. He got like actually scared and he didn't want to do it, which makes sense, especially considering the dangers of going on such a journey to begin with. There are numerous dangers for it.
I'm super excited. It's so much improved from yesterday.
Oh really? I like the smell of the paint is really overpowering the smell of the fish. Put like a fresh coat of paint on a fishing boat, you don't know what the actual offensive smell is, it's good. Whoa. The aid hadn't arrived yet, so we were getting busy, cleaning up and washing the boat, and I thought I was doing a pretty good job and, making myself useful, but I'd barely been on the boat for 15 minutes, and I managed to secure my position as the most useless crew member. Now, pay attention to this rusty metal shaft that goes down 2 meters into the engine room. Even though I'm filming it right now, in about 3 minutes, I'm about to forget all about it and walk into the boat with my head held high and just plummet straight down that hole.
I heard the sound and everybody yell out and said, that's definitely Alexis falling down the hole. There's like 30 people here. What happened, Alexa?
I walked straight through the hole.
You gotta watch out for that. Oh man. You gotta be careful. You get really hurt doing that. Yeah. Oh man. Those long legs. You just like split your head open.
Yeah. That's crazy. That should not have happened. While we're in this fishing village, watching all these fishermen trying to help us reverse park our fishing boat, something dawned on me.
I've been shitting myself for a week about the US bombing all those fishing boats. I didn't realize we're like exactly on a fishing boat. Like this is the worst kind of boat for it, isn't it?
This is where the tuna go.
Yeah, there's a little fish hatch.
What I also didn't take into account is that the fishermen here all around us live with
My brother is knocking on the door like he's the goddamn police, okay?
the constant fear of getting bombed every time they set sail to do their jobs.
Murat! Hayvan gibi açıyorsun lan, öyle kapı, öyle vurulur mu kapıya?
El mar, o sea, para mí el mar. Se queda apoderado de todo ahorita. Tienen a Cuba restringido y qué drástico es que qué mal los tratan. No deberían.
¿Y qué piensan ustedes de esa flotila?
De esta ayuda muy bueno, muy bonito. Sí. La verdad. Ojalá lleguen. Ojalá y porque pues he escuchado noticieros y todo que todo les quitan. No llega esa ayuda humanitaria. Ya ha enviado muchos países. Lo ves a los pobres como los tienen.
It was actually horrifying thinking that these people risk getting blown up just for doing their jobs. And, you know, I felt awful until the fishermen started flexing on us about like how much.
Hasan, if it were still Ottoman times and your dad was Sultan, would you take out Murat in a heartbeat? Not even a question.
Better his boat was than our boat. And then I don't know, I felt kind of neutral about it after that.
Sí, no sabemos dónde dormir.
Hay como 10 para 25. Wow, todo madera, Sí.
Así es, muy bonito.
Vamos con ustedes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had to end our tour of this guy's much more comfortable and sturdier boat because our aid truck started coming in and it was time to somehow get 30 tons of food and medicine onto this boat. Now, we didn't just have 3 big trucks, but also a bunch of like nice everyday people heard what was going on and drove up and brought their own donations. It was really beautiful. You know, it was a lot of work, but the energy was great. Everyone was singing the whole time. So even when you're on your 50th sack of beans and, you know, it rips apart and you spill beans everywhere, you need to like tape it up and fix it, you still feel great. It had been hours and hours of hot work, and I was slowly starting to realize how much 30 tons actually is, right? Like, especially when you're down in the hull, loading an endless stream of sacks and boxes.
It's really warm down there. Yeah.
Been down below.
Yeah. Whoa. Just this thick smell of diesel.
Yeah.
Hot.
Working.
You wish you did the boat? Fuck no. Fuck no, dude.
It's one of the...
Yeah, there's 2 more to go.
Is this the same truck?
Same one.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Let's go have a smoke.
But we just kept going, right? Loading bicycles and solar panels and everything that would fit on this boat. It got to 3 a.m. and it looked like we were maybe, I don't know, getting close to finishing until the Mexican Navy heard what was going on and they made us stop so they could check through all the things we were loading to, you know, make sure everything was up to code, which led to hours of negotiations, right? When they clocked that we had filled this little boat with like 30 tons of aid and there were only 10 beds, they insisted that we only had capacity for 10 people and that more than half of us wouldn't be able to make the trip, which is, you know, a rough thing to hear after weeks of preparation, but eventually they caved and let us go. I mean, until the sun came up the next morning and they returned to address even more regulatory issues and safety concerns. But at least there's one major safety concern that we don't need to worry about because we addressed it within the first 15 minutes of seeing the boat.
Right, if they painted that white water around it because of me, I'm integral to the ship's safety. If it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have painted that thing there.
Safety officer.
Yeah. I just go out, walk through places, get hurt, and then we know what the dangerous things are.
But it was all squared away now, and we had officially gotten our passport stamped by the customs officer. So this was it, right? There's no turning back now, and I am terrified.
That's it.
There we go.
Well, if we don't go now, then we're going to be illegal in Mexico. Oh, you learn something new about yourself all the time.
What are you learning?
I just realized that when I'm actually scared, I need a poo.
You're like an octopus.
Yeah, I don't understand. I thought it was like a turn of phrase, like shitting myself.
No. Oh, there you go.
I can't stop pooping.
This is a journey of self-discovery.
I don't want to know that. It's so inconvenient. Imagine if I have to do something important in the future.
Yeah.
I would just have to poo myself.
Yeah, no, you can prepare for the scenario. You're low fiber diet.
I'm about to have a baby. I gotta shit. You know, I go to my my parents' funeral. I'm shitting, I'm not there. How bad is that? What am I going to do on the boat? I'm just going to be pooping the entire time.
Yeah, better the devil we know, hey?
I've never had an anxiety shit in my life. Fear of the food / water, who could tell this point? No, dude, he's afraid of getting lasered out of existence by an American naval asset. But yeah, that's what he's afraid of. He made it very clear, because at this point, the Trump administration is just straight up blowing up boats in the Caribbean nonstop, and they still haven't really stopped doing it, but they were certainly doing it at its peak back then. So from his perspective, he's like, what if we're next?
Well, there you go. I'm stuck on the boat now, and whatever happens, happens. So I guess now's a good time to find out what the actual chances are I'll get blown up out here. Now, you might think the US is blowing up narco traffickers in the Caribbean, or you might think they're just killing random fishermen, and that depends a lot on what kind of media you consume. Now, if you're watching this from a boat in the Caribbean and you want to work out if a missile is heading your way, you could read through like every single news article ever written and sift through the bias to find out if you're being targeted, but time is of the essence in this scenario. So thankfully, today's sponsor, Ground News, has you covered. Ground News is a website and app designed to sift through political bias and make the news more transparent.
Ethical
so let's say
reacts.
I want to look up the US bombing boats in the Caribbean. You can see that 244 sources reported on this, with 28% of them leaning left and 19% leaning right. You can also see how reliable these sources are and who owns them. And if you click on one of the left-wing articles, they'll say that an overwhelming consensus of experts call it a crime against humanity and highlight the fact that the relatives claim the victims are just fishermen. But on the right, they'll report that the victims are narco-terrorists and console you that not a single drone operator was harmed when they pressed the kill button. My favorite part of the app is the blind spot feature, which shows you stories only reported by one side of the political spectrum. Without this feature, I'd have no idea that consumers of right-wing media receive nationwide updates when a random transgender teenager wins a race at a local Californian sporting event. As you know, I comb through thousands of sources to make these videos, and Ground News is the perfect tool to simplify this process and keep me informed. And you could be as well informed as me, right? You just need to subscribe today. So go to ground.news/BoyBoy, click the link in the video description, or use the QR code to get 40% off the unlimited access Vantage plan, the same one I'm using. So subscribe today and stay informed. Okay, now back to the video. Everyone was so excited to finally set sail, and for some reason, as soon as the boat left, I wasn't that scared anymore. It's kind of like the possibility of going home kept me in a state of panic, and now that I knew I had no choice, my mind just tried to shut off all the, unhelpful negative stuff.
I was pooping my pants out of fear like half an hour ago, and now I feel like I've never pooed before in my life. It's perfect. I feel really, really good.
Quietly confident, eh?
Yeah, I reckon. I'm not the kind of person that dies.
Never.
Hasn't happened before.
What do you reckon sailing life for you?
For now, in the harbour, the 5 minutes of sailing we've done,
Stop coming.
I reckon I could do this the rest of my life.
Now, I knew we had a bunch of activists and journalists on board from around the world, but I felt...
Stop coming, Chad. Stop coming.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
a bit out of place seeing the caliber of journalism on this boat.
I should have brought a suit.
Yeah, your channel, you'd be much more legitimate.
That's fucking awesome. Is he gonna wear it the whole time?
But as we left the harbour, it got harder and harder to hold the camera straight. And eventually it got hard to just stand straight. And I realise now that I'm editing it, it's surprisingly hard to capture how unstable the boat was on camera because, you know, the cameraman is essentially being a human gimbal. Like here's an example. If you do this to a chicken, notice how its head always stays upright. That was us when we were filming, right? You're watching this video through the chicken's head and everything looks much, much better from the perspective of the chicken.
It's hard to walk around, man.
No few legs.
Yeah. Are we gonna get used to it? I don't know.
No, I don't know. Need a hole into a wall.
Apparently this is the easy bit.
No.
Yeah. I think the waves are gonna get fucked.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
At this point, I realized there was something I needed to do that I should have done while the boat was stationary.
Gotta put this on top of the boat.
You're gonna fall off.
I can barely walk down here. There we go.
Uh-oh.
I was pretty scared of flying overboard when I went to set up this satellite on the roof, but now that I'm editing the video, I'm actually much more scared about the fact that my dick was hanging out of my pants the entire time. Going through the footage is so bad because there's just like so many clips. Just so many clips of just my balls on the screen. And before we set sail, we've got all our luggage. We ratcheted it up like down in the hull so it wouldn't fly around everywhere. But that meant that all I could really wear was what I had on, you know, and it was really stupid. So if anyone on the flotilla was watching this, I'm so sorry you had to stare at my balls for like an entire week. Like I actually had no idea that they were just hanging out the whole time.
Crazy. Of course, dude. Of course the motherfucker did not have any briefs on and just straight up was giving full scrot to everyone that's trying to do a humanitarian aid mission.
I don't know.
Yeah, longest shorts in Australia, by the way. I mean, straight up, that is the longest shorts I've ever seen him wear. Honestly.
Getting seasick and worried about getting bombed is bad enough without having to stare at my balls all week. So I'm really sorry. But back to the satellite. I got up on the roof and the waves were pretty nuts. Like I tried to keep my body, you know, close to the ground, but the ground wasn't particularly stable either.
Fucking tradie shorts.
Very slippery. If we get intercepted by the US Navy, yeah. If I can get internet on this ship, yeah. Then I can back everything up. Yeah. And then they take us, they imprison us, whatever. But the footage, yeah. What you're watching right now is going to be on the internet. Yeah. All because of what we're doing right now. Okay. So if you're watching this, if you can see this video, it means the internet worked and we got it through. If you're not watching this, it means it didn't work.
Haas tasty, bet they stank good as hell. Bro, you need Allah right now. You need a copy of the Quran. You need to read the Quran. Wow, that is crazy. That is crazy.
But I had no choice, right? You slowly get used to the movement of the boat and
Nasty
learn to
little
stay low.
pervert.
And we set the internet up in no time, and I could get back to work backing up our footage.
What are you doing?
Just backing everything up, making sure it's everywhere. Everywhere. This one.
So where's that going?
My ass.
Okay.
Look how small it is.
Oh, it's teeny tiny.
Straight in my ass.
Go and notice the thing.
This one. On the front, in my penis. There are all these different options.
Oh, right, yeah. For your satisfaction.
I can have a good trip.
Now, the next challenge of the day, which is actually quite linked to me being scared on the roof, is needing to use this thing. Now, since the boat is constantly rocking back and forth, you need to secure the door while you're hovering over this seatless toilet. And if you're a socially minded person, you're probably going to want to flush when you're done. So you have to get this bucket and lower it over the side of the boat and fill it up with seawater before you even go in. Now, I used this toilet exactly once, like only on the first day. It was actually impossible to stay still, right? You're squatting over this thing, shaking back and forth, you're shitting everywhere. And it took me like 20 minutes to just clean up the mess that I made. And at that point, I made a vow that I just wouldn't poo ever again. And I'd just go mind over matter and just like hold it in for the next week. And it's not even about the sheer difficulty of like pooping. It's also the fact that you're just in this like stinky, confined plywood box. And
yeah, to answer Chatter's question one more time, I'm glad that I flew in as opposed to doing this.
It just makes you seasick immediately. So
how much of this humanitarian mission documentary is just shitting? Come on, man. Of course, it's BoyBoy. Of course, it's like all of it. I suspect that when he arrives at Cuba, there's going to be a lot more shitting, perhaps maybe even some puking, but mostly a lot of shitting. He's going to talk about how his shit's changed dramatically when he started, eating the Cuban food.
Feeling constipated is way better than that. But it also became increasingly difficult to be inside the boat at all. Because it turns out the Alexopoulos memorial shaft was left constantly open to stop the engine room from overheating, which meant that the kitchen and the bunk beds were just dense with this like noxious diesel fume. So when the sun started going down, most people tried to find some space to sleep on the floor outside, which was harder than we originally thought because, we loaded multiple pallets of solar panels on the deck. So there wasn't a lot of space for sleeping. If you're lucky, you'd get a hold of one of the few gym mats that were lying around and, find a spare spot, or you'd make really good friends with someone who managed to secure a spot themselves. Now, it got surprisingly cold at night on the high seas, which is something I didn't know about and I didn't really plan for since, all our luggage was in the hull. So I was just stuck in short shorts and apparently with my dick hanging out, so I was very cold. Now, there was obviously a lot of water lapping up onto the deck and any smart person would have quickly claimed, the few dry spots on the ground, but I'm an idiot, and instead I focused on doing this. At this point, it was getting really cold and all the good sleeping spots had been taken, but I managed to get creative and realized I could sleep on the edge of this wooden pallet if I just kind of squeezed myself under the ropes that were holding the stack of solar panels in place. And after a night of sliding back and forth and like constantly waking up to my head hitting the edge of the boat, you know, the sun was shining and it was our turn to cook for everyone. And I love cooking. Honestly, I felt pretty great for a couple of minutes. It turns out what I was tasting in that moment was stomach bile, and I'd completely emptied my insides. Now, it had been about 24 hours on the boat at this point, and I somehow convinced myself that I had some kind of like genetic immunity to seasickness, but I mean, obviously I was wrong. Either that or like the stress of the trip had cultivated some kind of reverse bulimia where I had to vomit everything out before I could eat a meal.
So hungry, I vomited everything.
Just in time, hey?
But I couldn't keep any food down. Once the seasickness set in, it was actually horrible. Like, it was so bad. It felt like you were hungover and like super dizzy, but you're also forced to be on like this 600-kilometer long roller coaster. And it's not like one of those cool roller coasters where you get to have fun and kiss. It's like a roller coaster where you also have to do chores the whole time. Like even just getting a cup of water is so hard. Like it involves like tightrope walking and like washing dishes and squats. It was actually fucked. Like, I was just counting down the 72 hours until we landed, just praying it would all stop. And I guess my wish kind of came true because it was that moment that the engine died. It turns out it was probably a faulty alternator. So everyone was scrambling for solutions, right? Like some people were trying to jerry-rig one of the solar batteries that we were taking to Cuba, while other people tried to set up an old generator to power the battery. And I was trying to address the issue by just continuously vomiting over the edge of the boat, but none of that fixed the alternator. So we were all out of ideas. We were just stuck there, you know, just floating aimlessly in the middle of the ocean for hours and not getting any closer to Cuba. But it was kind of nice. I mean, without the deafening noise of the engine, it was a little bit easier to just lie perfectly still and ignore the seasickness. You know, I kind of feel like I reached a level of zen in that moment because I didn't realize at all that we were about to be boarded by the military. I woke up, tried to work out what was happening, but everyone I spoke to was confused. I went to my laptop and realized that my very special strategy of uploading everything online was a complete failure. I had like half a terabyte of footage and literally none of it was uploaded. I should have guessed by the fact that it took about an hour to just like check the news every day, but yeah, my footage wasn't backed up anywhere. And obviously you are watching the footage right now, so I guess I managed to save it somehow, but in the moment I thought it was game over. So for the sake of immersion, I need you to pretend that you're not watching this video right now. You're thinking about this happening.
Hope it's one of the nice Navy ships.
What do you reckon? It'll look friendly?
I think it's smiling. I don't understand what's happening. He's like a shark. He came from that side, and now he's coming around there, and it looks like he's going to turn around this way as well. Just circling us until we get hungry and beg for mercy.
Thankfully, it was a false alarm.
Wait. You think any of the Cubans watched this and threw away the beans and stuff BoyBoy brought? They were like, yuck, BoyBoy brought this.
It turns out the captain had sent out a distress signal when the motor broke, and since we were in Mexican waters, a Mexican Navy ship came by to help us out, and after an hour or so, the engine was back on. Now, this would have been a relief because it meant we were back on track to arrive in Cuba in 3 days, but I had a chat with one of the Mexican Navy guys, and he said something completely different.
The Navy man just said if we need 5 days to get to Cuba, and our crew says we need 3, and we have like half a alternator.
So it might be 3 days, but it also might be 5, and also it might be even longer depending on...
There's something really funny about this because like a plane ride would have sufficed because you can put a lot more cargo in a plane.
How many times we break down and whether we can fix the problem at all. And the entire time I'll either be vomiting or worrying about dying or going to jail. Like, I kind of felt like I was in hell.
So on the day before interception came, the boat I was on Sumut Flotilla broke 4 times. 4 times engine failures. And when the engine stopped, it would be a noise like beep.
You have a plane? I mean, this is, I don't know the logistics. I guess it's like, this is probably much cheaper than a plane, let's be real.
It wasn't easy.
So this is easy?
Nah, it's not easy, but it's something like you kind of get used to. And if you want the mission to keep on moving, you just gotta take a light mood and work with it, make it work again.
Then why are all the ships stuck in the strait instead of flying? Really? You just compared like a ton of cargo to like millions of barrels of oil. That's what you that's what you're, this is a dinghy, dude. Like 30 tons of cargo.
That's it.
But look, whatever I'd been doing for the whole trip obviously wasn't working. So I thought, you know, I might try this like weird new South American thing called being happy.
That's sick.
I got to tell you, man, this new strategy was working out surprisingly well until nighttime, because it was my turn on the roster to stay up and stand guard as the night watchman. You see, on the Gaza flotilla, they'd get attacked by drones at night, dropping bombs, starting fires, or even spraying weird, like, harsh chemicals. It was up to me to wake everyone up if we were being attacked. But here's the problem, right? You look at this light in the sky, and you tell me whether that's a star, or a passenger plane, or a drone about to bomb us. Like, the sky is full of these things, and there's no decision that I can make here that isn't incredibly embarrassing, right? Either I'm the idiot who woke everyone up because he saw a star, or I'm the idiot who didn't warn everyone that we were about to get bombed. It was kind of shit either way, but I guess maybe it didn't matter. Like, I realize if I do get hit by a drone strike, I won't even know what happens. You know, I'll just be gone. It kind of made me wonder if any of the fishermen over the past year have been in this exact same spot, thinking the exact same thing, like thinking they might be seconds away from being hit. You know, they're thinking about their family and all the things they've done in their life, and just, you know, praying that God will accept them into the crystal clear waters and sunny skies of fisherman's heaven. Like, it's funny to look back at it now, but I honestly thought I was gonna die and end up here. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, this video was such a massive risk. Like, not just for my own life, which, you know, I'm very attached to, but even just the fact that, you know, chances are we'd get intercepted and I wouldn't even have any of this footage at the end anyway. And the only way I can actually take these risks is thanks to our supporters on our Patreon. Thanks to you guys, I can take these bigger risks and make more important videos, right? And because I know the community is going to have my back if anything goes wrong. And outside of that, this is by far the most expensive video I've ever filmed. It costs a stupid amount of money to pull this off. So if you want to help us out with future videos like this, jump on the link in the description, and just for $5 a month, you can get a full-length exclusive video every month. Even if you hate me, it's worth $5 a month just to convince me to, you know, keep trying to kill myself. So it's a win-win for everyone. Like, you should just do it. Now, the rest of the days on the boat all jiggled together into one long haze. The sun comes up, it's on one side of the boat, and then a little while later it comes down and it's on the other. You wake up sleeping on a pile of ropes, wearing the same clothes you wore for the past 3 days. You try to distract yourself from the fear by, you know, filling up your day reading, playing Uno. The boat keeps rocking. Your mate Claudio, the 80-year-old Italian journalist, burns himself on the chimney, so you have to make a warning sign. You cook, you eat, you sing. You try to work out if that new ship on the horizon is going to board you. You wash yourself with the dangly exhaust hose that cools the engine. And then you're told we'll be arriving in Cuba tomorrow morning. The sun goes down on one side of the boat, and then it comes up on the other, and you wake up on a soggy gym mat in the same clothes you've been wearing for 4 days. And then you're told you're arriving in Cuba tomorrow morning, and the same thing happens the next morning. I honestly started to think maybe we had already been drone struck and we didn't even realize it, right? We were now in purgatory, and this was just our life for all eternity. Then one night, a bunch of tiny islands pop up on the radar, and in the morning, they pop up on the actual horizon. But, you know, I've been in purgatory today, so I don't fully believe my eyes.
According to this, not in Cuba yet. No land. I don't trust it. I think the Americans are going to intercept us.
Some kind of hologram.
It's too exciting.
Dude.
Don't sail towards it. It's a trap.
We decided to climb up on the roof and make sure these Cuban mountains were real.
You know what this place needs?
What?
The KFC. The KFC and some Trump towers.
Yeah, I think an Amazon fulfillment center would be nice.
Yeah, big AI data center.
I look at that and I see unrealized, you know, potential.
I see potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing land is so special to me because it means I get to poo. A bed, a shower, ground that doesn't move. Although I had an earthquake like a few days ago. Like, that one's not so sure. But bed and shower and toilet, definitely gonna happen.
It turns out nothing was definitely...
Why did it take so long to get there? Isn't Cuba like only 90 miles off the U.S. shore? Genuine question. They're going from Mexico.
going to happen because we just got news that a US ship had just moved to the outskirts of Havana.
You heard about the US ship outside of Havana?
Yeah, I'm telling you, if those Americans stop us, I will lose my mind. They could have stopped us at any point in this trip. They could have stopped us before we all threw up. They could have stopped us before we all spent 3 days in our own sweat and piss.
Sleeping outside on like a wet floor.
But it turns out Cuba is a really, really long country. So that US ship in Havana will have to wait while we just sail along the coast for another 2 days. Until one night at 3 a.m., we saw some lights. It was so weird looking at Havana, like after staring at the sea for days. It dawned on me that we were actually going to make it now, which was a relief, but it was also incredibly sad because Havana's enormous, right? Looking at the size of this city spanning the entire coastline up to the horizon, I couldn't help but be terrified by the concept that there are millions of people in there that are living without the basic necessities of life. Well, I guess at least we made it. This Coast Guard was the first Cuban I spoke to. He asked if I'd been to Cuba before, and when I told him I came 14 years ago, he immediately told me I probably have a 13-year-old kid here. And I was honestly a little bit embarrassed to know that my kid's first impression of me will be this, a guy that looks like absolute shit, but whatever. We made it back to experience this brutal communist dictatorship once again.
They have a giant statue of Jesus.
Well, maybe it's all going to be okay after all.
Yeah.
We need to look for the things we have in common.
Yeah, we all love Jesus.
Hasan, you would have jumped if you were there, if you were on there. Oh my God. Wait, what do you mean?
There's a lot of people there.
Like kill myself? Is that what you mean?
You had your doubts, hey? Yeah, I was so sure I was getting on a boat to nowhere. Oh, what a horrible thought. Just lying there the first time, be like, I'm gonna die. Oh, llegamos.
I was so excited to finally end the seasickness, but no one told me about the land sickness.
I was so fucking dizzy, man.
It's a wobbly land. See what happens with a destabilized country.
I was so disorientated and thirsty and confused, but one thing I knew for sure is that these Cuban delegates were about to shake hands with the stinkiest people they've ever met.
Gracias por invitarnos. As soon as I got off the boat, I feel how disgusting and stinky and sticky I am. It's like there's just like a different sense of stickiness. But just like 10 seconds ago, I was like, oh, this is normal. As soon as I get on land, I'm like,
part of the marine
I'm covered in gel. I'm like a fucking slug.
I feel more like a shell.
Oh, yours is crispy?
Yeah, mine's
wet.
great. Oh,
Mine's
nice. You're going salamander.
Yeah. Crazy how much your mind ignores when you're on the boat. Like on land, I need a shit so bad. Like my whole body's just fucking...
Dude, this entire video is literally one collective journey about pooing. It's crazy. I wonder how many times he mentions the fact that he has to shit, he has shit. Wow.
My body hates me right now.
But it turns out we'd have to wait a few more hours before we could do any of that because all these people had come down at sunrise to welcome us.
When do I get to do a poo? I need to do a poo.
Now, I didn't realize at this point, but we also needed to unload the 30 tons we'd loaded up in Mexico before we could get any relief. But it was done, and we finally checked into our hotel room. We were staying at Hotel Presidente, one of the many kind of affordable state-run hotels in Havana. Now, the special thing about this place is that the US government won't let you stay here if you're a US citizen. You have to go to a private hotel, or else you could face up to a penalty of 10 years in prison and $1 million fine. But I'm Aussie, so I don't have to worry about that. All I need to worry about now is having a shit and a shower. And even though the energy crisis meant that there was no hot water and occasionally there was no water at all, it was still 1,000,000 times better than the boat, and I felt relaxed for like the first time in a week, until I checked my phone.
You know what the Pentagon's new operation for Latin America is called? Operation Total Extermination. What the fuck? Operation Doing What the Devil Says. Why would you call it that?
Totally, it's not very diplomatic.
Makes it a little bit scared being here. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Total extermination, but I'm here.
It's just so lame, hey? It's just so obviously just a computer game playing kid.
Yeah.
Has suddenly too much power, you know?
But if I thought the news on my phone was bad, it was even worse on Dan's phone when he tried to access his bank account.
You're blocked from online services because you're in a sanctioned country or region. And then, I need to buy a sandwich. See details. We are obliged to manage our international sanctions risk, so you cannot buy a sandwich.
That's so nuts that a random fucking Australian bank will just like...
Yeah, this is a part of the reality of the sanctions, is that you can be a country, you can be the bank of a country that has nothing to do with America at all. You could be an Australian bank who will refuse to allow you to operate in Cuba because it's a sanctioned country, because Australia, the bank is worried that America will punish them.
Like get rid of your account.
Yeah.
If you do anything.
You cannot do anything. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'll go and get a VPN thing. And then look, I try to download this one. The App Store is unavailable in the country.
Oh, you got fucked.
Yeah, I can't even VPN. All I want is a sandwich. I'm sanctioned.
That sucks for you, dude.
Why don't you spot me something? Come on.
I got my VPN on time.
Come on, just a little bit.
You gotta look at
You're
it.
complicit in this.
Cuba's a communist country. That's why things are so bad right now. I'm going to learn from Cuba's mistakes.
You're just sanctioning me as well.
No, you know what? I think the value...
I don't know how the fuck he even had... You don't really need a VPN, but I don't really know how the fuck he even had internet at all when he was there. I'll be honest with you. That shit was impossible. It was genuinely impossible.
The value of money to you is actually so much more than it is to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna loan you the money.
Hotel Wi-Fi? Dog, I was in a hotel too. I'm telling you. The hotel Wi-Fi was always out.
If you want $5 now, you have to give me $50 in a month.
Right. It's like a World Bank loan.
Yeah. You have to change. You have to restructure some of this stuff.
A little bit of changes. I'd like you to organize your wallet.
Yeah.
A little bit of financial management.
Now, to be fair, even if Dan was allowed to access his bank account, pretty much all the ATMs are down because of the energy shortages. So since I'm the guy who, took out money before the trip and, I need Dan to hold the camera and not be dead, I decided I won't let him starve for now. But anyway, the rest time was over and we had to find our way to the hospital to hand off all the aid that we brought. So the problem was that the hospital was like 10 kilometers away and it's incredibly difficult to get a taxi with barely any fuel in the country. But luckily, with the help of a world famous soccer player called Xi Jinping, Cuba set up a factory just outside of Havana pumping out thousands of these electric tuk-tuks, in response to the US cutting off all fuel from the country. It was pretty strange getting our first actual glimpse of Cuba. The streets were so empty compared to 14 years ago, and because the fuel blockade made driving nearly impossible, you had to go for all these weaker vehicles that used renewable energy, like, these 2 horsepower tuk-tuks or this 1 horsepower horse. But we finally arrived to this children's hospital that specializes in cardiovascular care, and it honestly felt surreal seeing all this aid reach its destination. And something tells me the nurses couldn't believe it either. For the past couple of months, all I could think about was this flotilla, but somehow the only thing I actually thought about was the flotilla as a political stunt, right? Getting on the boat and exposing to the world that the US is killing people through their blockade of Cuba, and hopefully, inspiring people and governments around the world to take action. But I didn't actually think about the real people that are going to receive the aid that we're bringing. Like, there are children in this hospital whose lives are going to be dramatically affected by this, 30 tons of food, medicine, and solar panels that we filled our little boat with. And honestly, I hadn't thought about the real world impact of that.
Es algo maravilloso. Nos hacía falta. Ay Dios, ahora usted lo vengo sabiendo desde antes lo anunciaron y me despertó.
Gracias a ustedes por venir. Ustedes están haciendo una cosa. Miren, no es solo lo que ustedes aporten. Están arriesgándose, vienen aquí a que después lleguen allá y lo puedan crear problemas, le quieran meter. Eso es una cosa que no tiene precio. Agradecerles a ustedes lo que están haciendo y nos da un estímulo para seguir, que ustedes no se pueden imaginar.
It was actually so nice seeing where all our aid was going, but it felt like a drop in the water. The hospital was running out of everything, from like medications to medical machines to simple things like gauze and bandages.
En un hospital del país, donde podamos hablar cualquier país, hacen un reporte o dicen se rompió este equipo. Y no obstante viene el privado, dice bueno, esta pieza cuesta tanto y al momento se lo pone. Sí. En el caso de nosotros no es tan así. Nosotros tenemos que hacer una contratación, ver si no nos está prohibido vendernos al país por el tema del bloqueo. Entonces se encarece todo y se demora mucho más que en cualquier mundo por esta situación. Aquí hacemos.
Yeah, there are entire fucking graveyards of perfectly fixable equipment in Cuba that simply will never be repaired because one tiny component was broken, and it's a proprietary piece of technology, and the company that they purchased it from has decided now that they're worried about American sanctions, so they won't send the components necessary to fix it. It's horrifying.
Abierta, en este caso, donde necesitan muchos recursos desgastables. Estoy seguro que si no tuviéramos ese bloqueo fuera lo más rápido posible.
Tenemos dinero a veces en los bancos y no podemos utilizarlo porque hay bancos en algunos países que no aceptan transacciones con Cuba.
Like, one of the most insane aspects of this, someone say your country deserves the Israel treatment for this. Yes, it's true. And if in a just world, we would be a pariah state in the same way that Israel is. I mean, after all, half of Israel's crimes is because we allow them to do it. And the other half is because we give them the weapons to do it. Now, one of the most insane aspects of this is that it's totally unnecessary. This kind of cruelty is unbelievably unnecessary. And as a matter of fact, there's an argument to be made about removing these setbacks and actually allowing Cuba to thrive, which could be beneficial for America as well. We just choose to be cruel to these people, genuinely. And no, it's not Trump. This is every president, with the exception of Barack Obama, has continued this in some way, shape, or form. Barack Obama was the first American president that actually eased and allowed Cuba room to breathe, room to develop. It was actually a tremendously positive moment for Cuba's future. So as much as I shit on Obama, and I don't think he went hard enough, I told you guys this already. I spoke to the Cubans, like government officials, and they literally, I was like, so why do you think Obama did this? And they're like, we have no idea. They don't even know why Obama did it. Like, they couldn't even believe it.
Lacking supplies and equipment is just like one of the many issues that they have to deal with here.
Man, he did that shit for his legacy on his way out the door. He didn't give a fuck. What are you talking about? That's not true. No, it was Ben Hamas Rhodes, for the record. And it was the only, it was not, you're thinking of Biden. Oh, Biden.
Simplemente el hecho de no tener combustible para poder bombear agua en una ciudad y tener abastecimiento de agua en un hospital, si sabemos lo que implica eso, es un gran problema de salud, de higiene.
Hay que estar muy atentos al uso de combustible. Por ejemplo, hay un área que no es posible que esté encendida, que es la parte de las consultas y demás, porque el combustible hay que ahorrarlo para la forma general, porque tenemos una terapia intensiva donde hay pacientes.
Did Austin edit this one too? Does it say? Because I feel like he's using the same exact subtitles that I use.
Gravemente.
And also the same soundtrack. Motherfucker, did you reuse the same soundtrack, Austin Ox? You son of a bitch.
Su estado crítico y es necesario que se mantenga el hospital funcionando para la atención de estos pacientes.
La asfixia del bloqueo no solamente impacta de esa manera, impacta en el personal propiamente que trabaja. Personal que viene a trabajar con miles de problemas, dejándolos atrás, dificultades inmensas, que vienen y que lo hacen a conciencia porque en gran medida lo que les remunera en estos momentos su trabajo no es suficiente dado la crisis que hay para poder garantizar todo lo que necesitan y también va siendo escaso. Realmente se trabaja como si estuviera un país en guerra pero sin bombas.
Ella es de provincia y entonces se va muy lejos y el transporte está difícil, a veces no hay combustible para que se traslade ese paciente.
After seeing it in person, I really don't understand how anyone's surviving it. I mean, the blackouts mean that the doctors have to operate
BoyBoy went to Cuba too
by hand throughout the night. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I can't actually see how they're going to keep this going over the next few days, like, let alone months.
No, I didn't think didn't go.
But the wild part is, even in the middle of this
was too scared to go.
Crisis,
no,
Cuba's still dedicated to making life-saving care available to everyone.
El eco que le han hecho, todos los exámenes, aquí ni un peso venía para ellos, todo es gratis. Y la atención de los doctores.
Don't reveal editor secrets.
Que compensa el mal rato que uno está pasando por la situación de los niños.
I mean, the fact that they still managed to keep healthcare free during this humanitarian crisis made me feel a little bit hopeful, right? Until I stepped outside and got a taste of reality.
Your video and his video should have voiceover for translations. Dog, I literally did that. My video has voiceover for translations. The fuck are you talking about? We did do that.
It turned out that one of the members of our flotilla, Tiago, had been arrested while flying home on his connecting flight in Panama.
I think the interrogation is so funny when like the entire thing is broadcast almost live, you know? Like, what were you doing? It's like, well, it's documented the entire time.
Look at my Instagram.
Yeah.
Right after that, we heard that the other 2 boats from earlier in the video were meant to arrive today, but they had completely vanished on the high seas.
I was just on the phone with the Mexican authorities. They're launching like a search and rescue thing because no one knows where the 2 sailboats went.
Holy shit.
So they are trying to find them.
But is there a worry that something happened?
We just don't know.
Might just
We
be
just
taking
don't know.
some time.
But there was literally nothing we could do about either of those things, but, you know, sit and be scared. So we decided to walk around the hospital, and we bumped into this nice Swiss man, Franco Caval. He happens to be one of the best oncologists in the world. Like this man wrote the textbook on medical oncology. No, it was him. I checked. He's the guy who wrote it. As a world-renowned oncologist, he's particularly upset that Cuba is, you know, blocked off from accessing vital cancer medications that he helped create, right? So he spends much of his free time visiting Cuba and trying to help, but he struggles to find any European company that dares to do business with Cuba because they're so scared of the Americans.
Actinomycin is an important drug in the treatment of many cancers in children. Cuba was buying that in the past. There were worldwide 3 companies producing that. 2 of the companies were bought by the 3rd one, which is an American company. So for years, children with cancer in Cuba didn't have that drug because the US company didn't sell that. So that's one example, but there are very many.
But it's not just humanitarian doctors like Franco that visit Cuba. Apparently, Western big pharma CEOs are coming here too.
They were a little bit interested because Cuba has an important research part.
Yeah.
And they have developed also a couple of interesting drugs.
All right, let's continue with the
which
video.
were then bought by Western companies. I know from a very important CEO of a very important pharmaceutical company who came incognito to Cuba. Nobody was allowed to tell that he was going to see what they are searching for.
So I'm standing there on the street talking to a world-renowned cancer researcher, and he's telling me that, you know, big pharma executives are entering Cuba secretly to like collaborate on research projects without the US government knowing. But it's all just kind of like difficult to believe, right? How does a Caribbean country, you know, it's blocked off from trading with the world, how do they become a biomedical powerhouse making insane discoveries like, you know, the world's only meningococcal B vaccine and luring big pharma execs with these breakthroughs? And, you know, all the other Caribbean countries, they're still stuck researching who that guy was who let the dogs out. It just doesn't make sense. So the next day, we decided to visit the Neuroscience Institute to see how it's possible that Cuba's pumping out all these medical breakthroughs under siege. Now, this institute was on the other side of town, so we were facing the same problem we'd face multiple times a day in Cuba, finding transportation. Now, after being on land for so long, I was honestly missing the diesel fumes of the boat engine, so I decided to splurge and get a real petrol taxi to take us to the institute. And we're going there with our mate, Daniel. He's a Cuban journalist working for the independent media outlet, Belly of the Beast. They do awesome documentaries and on-the-ground reporting in a place that's always like so saturated with fake news from mainstream media. So you can check him out in the video description. Now, Daniel joined our project as a producer, which is, you know, a stressful job at the best of times, but he was also doing it under the constant threat of being bombed by a foreign country.
Realizing that your future, the future of those around you, ends up depending on, you know, individual decisions of people that, in all honesty, couldn't give 2 shits about any of you.
Yeah.
It's daunting.
Yeah, sounds terrifying.
The idea
Belly of the Beast are heroes, dude.
Violence and the idea of an armed invasion running through my mind. You know, I keep having nightmares about it.
Cuba sounds like an amazing place. You can walk around the street, just bump into the world-renowned doctors, top-viewed streamers, and Jeremy Corbyn, all while just trying to find a place to poo.
They start bombing, I'm dead. A lot of people are aware that this is a real possibility, and those who are thinking it like that would be like, there's not a single one that would say, hey, yeah, sure, they should bomb Havana. Like, you know, that's not a thing. Like, you could find someone that tells you, sure, I hope the government changes, right? But bombs and bullets, they have no names. You know, once the shooting starts, no one's, you know, stopping and say, oh, let's see if this guy was a communist.
After that fun chat in the taxi, we finally got to the Neuroscience Institute to meet up with Dr. Mitchell Valdez Sosa.
Don't panic if there's a power cut.
That's my guy.
The elevator will have no...
That's my goat. Dr. Mitch. This guy is fucking incredible.
problem, and we just waited.
We can do the interview in
He's
the
not
elevator.
my guy. He's the guy. Oh my God, that is sick merch.
All right, yeah.
Perfect.
This was the very first medical equipment manufactured in Cuba, a Cuban computer.
It turns out Cuba became a research hub thanks to this computer and a guy called Erwin Roy John, the father of quantitative electroencephalography and neurometrics. And look, I don't know what that means, but I was standing in front of a world-renowned scientist, so I just nodded along, right? Now, Erwin Roy John wasn't a fan of Big Pharma, and he was a massive fan of Cuba's universal healthcare system because, you know, he's interested in treating people and not just making products for a company to sell to the highest bidder. So he wanted to do his research here.
Erwin Roy John was fired up with this idea, and he said, I'm going to bring to Cuba some computers with my software for studying the electrical activity of the brains. Of course, when he asked, for the permit, whatever, to export it, they said, oops, that's trading with the enemy. In the meantime, Fidel had talked to the university professors and asked them, you guys can make a computer? He said, we can. And looking at the user's manual, they started deducing, if this does this, it has to work in this way in the inside, on the plane. When Roy returned, ashamed, I wasn't able to convince the US government. We said, nope, we have our own computer.
We sorted that.
And that was how the Neuroscience Institute was started. Now, the research Erwin Roy John did here led to breakthroughs like this. And trust me, I Googled it. Like, I don't fully understand it, but they're definitely breakthroughs. And in Cuba, these insights were used to test every child in the country for neurological disorders like epilepsy for free. And in the US, these same breakthroughs are used to, charge parents upwards of $22,000 if they want to know if their kid has epilepsy. So it's no wonder Roy John opted to do his world-renowned research in Cuba, even though he knew full well that he would be blacklisted by the US government for doing it. Cuba is the only country in the world that had to develop everything themselves. From the ventilators that saved countless lives during COVID to screening devices for newborns and hearing aids, which by all accounts should be almost impossible to do. Like even in a country like the US, right? One of the biggest biomed industries in the world, they still rely heavily on global supply chains for all their medical treatments, right? No country can function without accessing the things that the rest of the world produces. But cutting off Cuba from the world isn't just cruel to this island nation of 10 million people.
There are people that feel, we're blackout, people that feel.
It's also cruel to everyday Americans who can't access any of Cuba's medical breakthroughs, such as, treating early onset Alzheimer's or healing diabetic ulcers without having to amputate a limb, which affects you. No, the person watching this, it affects you directly. Like you've been sitting here watching it for over an hour now, and that means that you're much, much more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. Tens
of thousands of amputations in the US and all over the world. The cooperation between the US and Cuba could save, from amputation, dozens of thousands of people a year. There's no right to harm a country, but you're also harming your own people. It's absurd. It's absurd.
This US policy of suffocation only really has one explanation.
They don't like the Cuban example. This is fractions of a cent. We provide our people with medicines at extremely low prices. In the US, the whole pharmaceutical industry is profit-driven. And this is the gigantic lobby. So this example of socialized medicine and preventive medicine, it doesn't fit into their profit-driven ideas. And
I love this man so much.
The US has been doing this for the past 60 years, and it's crazy to think that these doctors and researchers are still making scientific advancements with like an economic blockade and rolling blackouts. And we were about to experience a really big one that night while we were having beers with our 80-year-old friend Claudio at the hotel.
¿Y cómo subimos a la habitación al 10º piso?
It was pretty freaky, but sadly this was business as usual for the Cubans, and everyone was ready with emergency torches and emergency orchestral instruments.
Is someone just playing the flute outside in the middle of the blackout?
Yeah, Cubans get down. Fucking JBL speakers, blasting music in the street, no electricity. Everything is pitch black darkness.
Oh, there's a car coming. Someone's got a light. This would be so creepy if it wasn't for the flautist.
It turns out some people are even more prepared than the flute player, and they have their own backup generators.
Will our key cards... Oh, there we go. Hey, nice. I was wondering if our key cards will open the lock to the door.
Now, we'd never been in a citywide blackout before, so we took this opportunity to scope it out. Occasionally, you'll stumble upon a private business that managed to get a backup generator going, but generally it was just pitch black. Like, I can't imagine going through this multiple days a week. I mean, we barely found our way home in the dark. But we woke up to some even worse news the next morning. Our 2 boats were still missing.
It's quite scary. And then you think of all those songs we were singing.
About dying at sea. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, I hope they're okay.
Yeah, and I think the thing that kind of got me today is that they did a search and there was no one. Oh, there's nothing we can really do. Yeah. Just wait and see and hopefully they come down to that harbour over there. To the end of this street, and we go give them big hugs.
Now, to get our mind off of our potentially dead friends, we decided to, talk to some people whose lives were comparatively worse to make us feel better. So we went to Centro Havana, one of the poorest parts of the city, to see how everyday people were living under the blockade. We thought the best place to start was at the community medical center to speak to Dr. Roxana. She agreed to chat with us about how the community was dealing with the blockade, but I also realized I had an opportunity to get free healthcare, so I wanted to get that sorted first.
Usted pregunte y aquí estamos para aclarar todas sus dudas y...
Primero tengo una tos.
Roxana, dile la verdad. Dile que tiempo le queda.
Sí, es algo serio.
So apparently there's one of these community clinics every couple of blocks in Cuba, and they're actually community doctors, right? They spend half their day in the clinic like a normal GP, then they spend the rest of their day going around doing
you have deadly IBS.
routine checkups at people's houses. So your average Cuban will have a GP visit them every 2 weeks for checkups, not just when they're sick, but like all the time. In Australia, we got so much money and resources, but you'll never, ever get that amount of attention from a doctor. Like, I'm lucky if I get 5 minutes with a GP when I'm sick, let alone if I feel perfectly fine.
Yo tuve un problema en Australia hace 20 años. Yo fui enfermo cada vez y no sé por qué. Y fui al doctor y hacemos muchas investigaciones. Pero el problema fue que yo no he lavado mi semana por 1 año. Y por eso fui enfermo cada vez. Pero el doctor no ha visitado mi casa y por eso no sabe que yo soy tan sucio.
Por eso es fundamental, tienes que ver al paciente íntegramente con todo. Lo tienes que ver con todo, porque hay enfermedades psicológicas que te afectan orgánicamente, hay enfermedades orgánicas que descompensan la parte psicológica. La higiene es fundamental para todas las demás enfermedades, entonces todo tú lo tienes que ver todo en conjunto, que es la base de todo el sistema nacional de salud.
I was honestly amazed by the Cuban health system, and frankly I found it embarrassing that a country with nothing can offer their citizens much more than a rich country like Australia. But this phone call that interrupted us was an instant reminder of the reality of what they're going through under the blockade. Just like the hospitals, there were barely any medical supplies left.
Yeah, Americans also unironically think that the Cuban government is just refusing to give people medicine. This is with how little they have, I am confident in saying this is one of the greatest medical systems on the entire planet. And the saddest state of affairs is that because there's no diesel, there's no fuel for logistics, and no electricity to keep medicine in cold storage as is necessary, they can't even move this product around. They have some of the precursory chemicals. They can't make the medicine in factories because they don't have oil. And on top of that, they can't ship out medicine in general. This is, of course, stuff that they have to make on the island regardless, because it's very difficult to also purchase medicine from other countries.
Left in the country. And everyone's just trying their best to get a hold of some. We decided to follow Roxana around that day while she did a house visit.
They could, but they want to be hostile. Attention doesn't equal treatment. They could, but they want to be hostile. Cuba wants to be hostile. To who? They're just hostile by existing? Is that what it is? There's one country that's hostile in this scenario. It's the United States of America. How can you look at this stuff and just be like, yeah, they're hostile, so they deserve it? Some of y'all are Amer-Israeli. I wish you a faith far worse than the one you're comfortable wishing upon others.
Get a better feel of how regular Cubans are dealing with the unfolding humanitarian crisis. The first patient...
I hope you suffer alone. You know he's already suffering alone. No one who isn't suffering alone would come up with such a fucking evil thing to say.
...was Glenda, a 79-year-old woman who was diagnosed with diabetes. And after her checkup, she agreed to chat with us about, how she's been dealing with the blackouts.
Es posible saber ¿Cuándo no vas a tener
Hay
electricidad?
veces sí, hay veces no. La mayor parte de las veces la empresa eléctrica no puede pronosticar porque no sabe.
Sí. Pero para mí es muy difícil aprender cómo funciona esto.
No, lo difícil es saber por qué no reímos todavía.
Pero sería difícil todo, por ejemplo, si no hay corriente, ¿cómo se cocina la cena?
Exactamente. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que hacemos nosotros? Cuando viene la corriente, hay que levantarse a resolver ese problema. Hacer los frijoles, esto, lo otro, para que sea nada más.
Y eso puede ser a las 3 por la noche.
A las 3 de la mañana,
sí.
Puede ser cuando sea.
Pero dice, a eso le suma el agua. Tienen que entonces, esa es otra.
Por ejemplo, para lavar hay que tener en cuenta, uno, que hay agua. Porque aunque haya agua en la cisterna, si no hay electricidad, para poder impulsarla. Dos, que el motor sirva, porque esa es la otra historia. Y tres, que hay electricidad. Hay que conjugar las tres cosas. Y a veces no. El otro día estuve 2 días con la lavadora de ropa sin poder lavar.
It turns out Glenda was 13 years old when the revolution happened, and because she knew how to read and write as a teenager, she volunteered to go teach in the countryside as part of this, sudden nationwide push to eliminate illiteracy. And what she saw in the Cuban countryside in 1960 broke her.
Y ahí me di cuenta qué cosa era realmente el capitalismo. Por los campesinos sin ropa, los niños con las barrigas llenas de parásitos. La situación tan grave que había es donde yo alfabeticé, que ahí la situación era morirse de hambre. Era la realidad que se vivía en ese momento. A mí se me murió en los brazos un niño de 2 años por asma. Eso fue un golpe para mí tremendo. O sea, yo tengo eso grabado en mi mente. A mí no hay que me haga cuento de que buenos son los americanos, ¿no? Ni el capitalismo, mentira. Eso es cuento.
I noticed this weird souvenir clock she had on her wall as well, and it turns out she's experienced capitalism more than once. In 2009, the South African government was giving out flights to people who wanted to volunteer in local communities, and she obviously jumped at the rare opportunity to, see the world that she'd been locked out of.
Pero date cuenta que en Sudáfrica yo fui a una comunidad que tenía 500.000 personas viviendo en casucha, con las mínimas condiciones. Increíble eso, era algo. Y uno de los problemas que tenían ellos más complicados era que no sabían cómo enterrar a los muertos, porque era muy caro. Y entonces las comunidades tenían un consejo que tú tenías que pagar todos los meses para cuando te murieras, te pagaban el entierro. Y entonces cuando yo dije allí, ay, pero si el entierro en mi país es gratis, dice, ¿cómo que es gratis? Decía es gratis, dice, no, aquí no, es horrible. No sé allá en Australia cómo será.
Se puede sacar, ¿cómo se dice? Insurance, seguro.
Seguro.
Sí, puedes sacar seguro para cuando Eso es algo popular, no sabe. Hay comerciales en televisión.
Pero muy caro.
Tienes que sacar seguro para morir. Eso no existe.
No. Esto es muy normal. Aquí todo es gratis.
Me voy a Cuba cuando quiero morir. Voy a hacerlo aquí.
Y te garantizamos el tiempo, no se preocupen. Está bien, bueno, ya saben, aquí nos tienen cuando ustedes
Muchísimas gracias.
Si quieren tomar café, vuelvan otra vez, que todavía me queda. Para 3 días me queda.
Hopefully one day I get to come back and take her up on the coffee, but I mean, getting to Cuba wasn't easy. And when I turned on the TV that night, it felt like getting to Cuba was almost impossible. Like, our missing boats were primetime news in Cuba, and we were starting to get really worried for our friends. But being scared for your friends and family is just a taste of the daily lives of Cuban people who, they're either facing starvation or like a full-on invasion. Like the next news story was about university students training to defend themselves when the US invades. Like, there isn't a single part of these people's lives that isn't affected by the blockade. Like, from the simplest things, like garbage trucks struggling to get, the few drops of fuel left in the country so the streets overflow with rubbish, to completely empty tourist centers. Like, literally nothing is coming into this country. But in the middle of all this, the weird part is that life somehow goes on. Like, the country's slowly suffocating, right? They're facing a humanitarian crisis on the horizon, but everyone's just trying their best to live their lives in any way they can. Like, I spoke to so many people during this trip, and obviously the video was already enormous, so I had to cut a bunch of stuff. But if you want to see the full uncut conversations with everyday Cubans, jump on the Patreon because I'll be uploading all of them there. But the same thing happened in all these conversations, right? I kept trying to do the maths. Like, if the average salary is like $20 a month and a bag of rice costs $12, how is it possible that anyone's surviving? And I asked this question to every Cuban I met, and every person had pretty much exactly the same answer. They all told me that they had no idea either. It's crazy. Like, a couple of days later, we found out that our friends weren't dead, which is, you know, it's a massive relief. And the rest of our humanitarian aid made it to Cuba. And obviously the Cubans were ecstatic that, you know, someone out there cares about what's going on. But the reality is that what's on those tiny little boats can only go so far. Like, things are getting really, really bad in Cuba. Like, people are dying and everyone else is just living on borrowed time. And this was the point of the blockade for the past 60 years. When enough people starve to death, the Cubans won't have many options left, right? They'll get desperate and they'll eventually dismantle the socialist system they've built. I mean, unless the US gets bored of waiting and invades them first. But either way, you know, the mafia will get their cities back, the plantation owners will get their slaves back, and the US will get their sugar companies back. And the people of Cuba, they can look forward to becoming just like all the other capitalist third world countries around them, like Haiti and Dominica, or even Puerto Rico, right? Which is actually part of the US, but they haven't had a functioning electricity grid for the past 9 years anyway. Like, these countries experience some of the worst living standards in the world, and their lives are about to get much worse because the US recently kicked all the Cuban doctors out of the third world as part of the blockade. So I guess Haiti doesn't have any healthcare now either. And it made me think about all these places from, you know, Haiti to Somalia where, you know, people can't afford food and everyone's slowly starving to death. In all these places, it's kind of really hard to even work out where to start, right? Like, how do you fix this? Who's going to invest? What would they even build there? Is it going to go to the right people, right? But the tragedy of Cuba is that they've already set everything up on their own. You know, they got world-class healthcare, they've got the infrastructure and the know-how. Like, the only thing we need to do is just stop fucking with them, you know? Like, literally the only thing the world needs to do is just treat them how we treat any other country in the world, right? Let them buy food, let them buy fuel, let them buy medicine. Just let them sell stuff. I don't know, we just need to be normal. At this point in the video, you know, I'd usually provide a link, right? Like, I want to share a fundraiser for Progressive International that's planning to bring more aid boats to Cuba, but the US has sanctioned them too. So honestly, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't usually say this, but I'm completely out of ideas. It's up to you guys. Like, you need to do everything you can to stop your governments from killing these people.
Yep. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That was a great video from BoyBoy, by the way. Shout out. I'm so proud of him for going out there, taking a long way there, making it happen, making it work. But goddamn, dude, we are a real blight on this fucking planet. And it's not even like the average American that wants this. I know for a fucking fact, you poll the average American, you go to the average American, they don't even need to fully understand what the fuck's going on. They don't even need to see the devastation. You just go to the average American and you're like, hey, this is what we're doing to Cuba. Do you think this is good? The overwhelming majority, with the exception of, I guess, like the Gusanos in Florida. And even then, there's probably plenty of fucking Cubans in Florida that also don't like what's going on currently. But with the exception of like a handful of Americans, most would say no, there's no reason for it. There's no reason for this pain that we're causing. Literally no reason. As a matter of fact, doing the opposite of what we've done to Cuba so far would probably be beneficial for America. It would certainly be beneficial for Cuba. It just doesn't make any sense. And we just keep dishing out this pain for no reason. People say their economy doesn't work. Yeah, because they're stupid. They don't understand that we've killed their economy, put a gun to the head of their economy. Plus, they've already done the reforms. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have a socialist form of governance. It doesn't matter if they have a communist state. Every single UN vote looks like this. To end the economic embargo and sanctions imposed by the United States. 2 abstentions, Ukraine and Brazil. Not even sure why Brazil abstained. And Israel and America against. By the way, that's pathetic and shameful of Brazil to abstain. Oh, is this from Bolsonaro? Is that why? The entire world understands it. And yet they can't even do anything about it because America controls the entire world.